Beaver County. That's a look at the news for now. I'm Curtis Walsh on 99.3 FM and AM 1230 WBVP, also streaming live at beavercountyradio.com.
Now, it's time to talk on Teleforum on Beaver County Radio. 1230 WBVP, 1460 WMBA, 99.3 FM, and beavercountyradio.com. And now, here is the host of the show, Eddie Crow.
Well. Tom Young here in place for Eddie Crow. Eddie's off on vacation for a couple of days, so you get to listen to me for a couple of days. I've got a pretty broad agenda that I'm going to talk about. I like to start everything that I do with a prayer for everybody that's been touched by COVID around the world. This thing come out of Wuhan Lab, we now know that, and Wuhan Lab's run by the CCP of China. So you can take that wherever you want to take it, but people have had their health impaired, lost loved ones, so we pray for a healing, that people's health would be restored, and we pray for those who have lost loved ones, and especially the loved ones who have been lost, that the Lord would gather them into his heaven above. In Jesus' name we pray. We had prayers for Ukraine and Russia that I'm befuddled that nobody wants to sit down at a peace table and try to work out and stop the killing and destruction. It's almost like it's by design in some way, and I hate to say it that way. Also, we had our prayers for Israel, that what happened on October 7th is unconscionable. So we pray for Israel and that they would achieve their goal that they are doing right now. So with that, in Jesus' name we pray. Let me tell you, I'm here today for 3 hours, tomorrow for 3 hours, and Wednesday for 3 hours. And our day is going to be this. Today it's going to be kind of a dark day today because I want to talk about why people fail. The phone lines are open, 724-843-1888, 724-774-1888. So I hope you'll share with me some of your dark experiences with the financial world. I always ask people when I meet people new in my office, that's always a question I ask. Tell me about your past experiences with the financial industry. And so the topics today are going to be from, government debt, inflation, risk taxes, inflation, government regulations, devaluing the dollar. All of these things are almost like perpetrated against us. I have an article that I brought with me today out of the Epoch Times, which is a paper that I believe everybody should subscribe to. I get it once a week. And one of the articles I'm going to talk about later today is Treason of the Intellectuals and Danger from Within. I agree, and I think it would be hard for anybody to attack America on our land, although it's getting scary right now with the tens of thousands of people that have come here from China. Young, unmarried men, no family, no women, no children. And I wouldn't put it past Xi Jinping that to his army is already entering the United States. And I can only imagine the havoc that they could do and provide. I have a guest today at 10 a.m., and Len Ranier. Len is the author of several books, Unintended Consequences, The Family Legacy, Essential Lessons, The Defining Moment, Sudden Impact, and a book called Flawed. We call it The Wicked, Wicked Game, and I have a video that I refer to as The Wicked, Wicked Game, and I sort of snitched that name from Len, and he's been on the board of several colleges. He's been involved with the Federal Reserve. He's also a 30-year career at a very, very successful financial business that he was involved in. And now he writes books and gives talks around the world. So we're looking forward to talking to Len at 10 o'clock. If you want to jump in there, don't be afraid to call in. We'll talk about anything you want to talk about. But today's focus is, what are the things that you experienced that did not work out the way you expected them to work out. You know, the debt rate now, and I want to talk about the debt, and they don't seem to care. And I had an awakening yesterday. I haven't been on usdebtclock.org for a couple weeks. And I got on yesterday, and they changed it. They changed the screen. They took away some of the information that was there a few weeks ago. No, why would they do that? You know, if I go back about 3 years ago, they did the same thing. When you look at this usdebtclock.org and you look at the screen, it is created by the CBO of the federal government, the Congressional Budget Office. That's the CPAs of the government. They're partisan. They're not part of the politics. When Congress and that puts together a money bill, they give it to the CBO, and the CBO marks it up and says, okay, this is going to cost this much, or it's going to save this much. In other words, they look at everything going on as, you know, what is the cost? What are the ramifications of this bill in doing that? Well, a couple of years ago, on the screen, if I'm looking, the upper left-hand corner is the debt. And the debt in 2019, I want to use that as a moniker because I did this video, The Wicked, Wicked Game. You can find it on YouTube. If you put in The Wicked, Wicked Game by Thomas W. Young, you'll find this video. In that video, in that screen, there was what was the debt per taxpayer and what was the debt per citizen. And so you get an idea, you know, each of us has a share of that. So that was the debt. And then down in the lower right-hand corner was what they referred to as the unfunded liability. Now, the unfunded liability is Social Security, Medicare Part A, B, and D, and all the government employees, the 23 million federal employees, and the million-plus man Army, all of their pension and benefits. And in December of 2019, when I made that video, that debt clock is on there. The debt at that time was about $23 trillion. It's now $35 trillion. 4 years and a few months later, it went from 23 to 35. The unfunded liability was $117 trillion. And a couple weeks ago, before they took it off the screen, and that's the number they removed from the screen, it was over $215 trillion. So in 4 years and a few months, went from $117 trillion to $215 trillion. Now, I understand that, you know, how much it is incomprehensible for anybody to perceive. And we're going to talk about perceptions and perspectives today in the way we see things. You know, we have a perspective, the way we see the world on a daily basis. That's how I see it today. But our perceptions change based on our experiences, the people we meet, the books we read, and all of that. So it's interesting. So in this screen, they took off the unfunded liability. It's no longer on the screen. And when they, 4 years ago, what was on there, the unfunded liability, it was per citizen and per taxpayer. Now, the per taxpayer number 4 years ago was over $1 million per taxpayer. It was your share of the unfunded liability. I'm dumbfounded. Well, they took it off. They don't want you to know. I read an article the other day that right now, let's talk about the Federal Reserve. The Federal Reserve is in bankruptcy right now. They are not operating with a profit, and we're going to talk about that. But I think we got to take a break, so we're going. Okay, well, we'll wait for the break for a minute. But the Federal Reserve formed in 1913. A bunch of rich bankers and some rich businessmen got together, and they met on Jekyll Island off the coast of Georgia. Jekyll Island is a resort area off the coast of Georgia. And if you've ever found the book, I would recommend you read the book, The Creature of Jekyll Island is the name of the book. It's about 2 inches thick, and it's a book written about how the Federal Reserve came into being. And in this book, it talks about they were originally the banking cartel. While they changed the name, they didn't think banking cartel would be a workable name, but they actually became the Federal Reserve, which has nothing to do with federal government in any way, shape, or form. And they manage inflation, cash flow, et cetera, et cetera. And we'll get into this story probably in the second segment after the news when I get into this, because it's a story. And for you and I to be successful financially in our savings and the things that we do to try to get ahead in life, we want to make sure that as we look at things, we want to make sure that we're thinking correctly. Because, you know, the Will Rogers, the great philosopher of America, he's one of the philosophers that are from America, he said it isn't so much what people know that they believe is true, is what they believe is true that just ain't so. And that's paraphrasing, I'm sorry, but in looking at all this, I call it the 30,000-foot view. And we need to understand our perspective and our perceptions in order that we make good decisions going forward. Because I meet a lot of folks in planning for retirement and planning for the future, and I just don't find a lot of people that have adequate money that take into consideration risk, taxes, inflation, regulation, and depreciation of the money, all of those things going forward. Because if you take $1 today and come back 30 years from now, it'll only buy about 32 cents worth of goods and services. And that's if we believe the government in their projections, because they have manipulated inflation several times in the past. I'm sure we'll get to that in our discussions as we go forward. But anyway, the debt in 2019, December, was $23 trillion. It's now $35. The unfunded liability was $117, and now it's $215 trillion. And the other one that they took off earlier, remember I said per citizen, per taxpayer? Well, when the per taxpayer amount went over $1 million, they removed it from the screen. That was 4 years ago. Now, the unfunded liability is over $215 trillion. Oh, well, you don't need to see that. They took it off the screen. You don't need to see that anymore. So are we being manipulated? Do you feel manipulated sometimes with things going on around you and how they work? I don't know. I don't know. In 2000, there was derivatives in the market. And we're going to talk about American General, AIG. Turn the clock back to 2008. 2008 was referred to as the banking meltdown. And we have to step back and understand what was the banking meltdown. What caused that to happen? Well, you have to go back further. So you go back to 1999. Bill Clinton was president. And at that time, we were in 1999 coming out of the high interest rates of the 80s, and then 1990, Greenspan come in. And I'll tell this story before we're done here today. But you don't want to miss anything I'm going to talk about for the next 3 days, because I'm gonna hopefully cause your hair to curl. What hair you may have. Mine's getting pretty thin on top. I have to wear a hat in the sun, otherwise I get a burn on my head. But we have to have an understanding of what's going on around us. And with that, you have to know what your why is. You know, all of these things I'm talking about here today, they all have an impact on your financial future in one way or another. It's either a physical impact or it is a mental impact on programming you how to think. And that is what the big boys do, the billionaires, the big billionaire boys, and the World Economic Forum. I don't know if you're sitting there, and I don't know how much you know about some of these things I'm talking about, but Klaus Schwab, who is head of the World Economic Forum, and they have a meeting once or twice a year in Davos, Switzerland. Most of our politicians go to this meeting. Did you hear what I just said? Most of our politicians attend this meeting. And at this meeting, they discuss about how the world is overpopulated and we have to reduce the population, and the ideal population would be around 2 billion. No, wait a minute. Right now, we're over 6 to 7 billion people on the planet. And they're worried about climate change, and that's another story we'll get into about where did that come from. Come from a group called the Club of Rome. We'll talk about the Club of Rome. But they're talking about reducing the population. Well, how do you reduce the population? What do you think it takes to reduce the population? Maybe the virus that we just experienced in 2020. Because they have not proven, as of yet, that it wasn't intentional by China. Maybe, in my opinion, Tom's opinion now, I believe that it was a test. Because the facts we know about the virus, it didn't come from a bat in Wuhan in some cave somewhere. It came out of the Wuhan lab that was working on viruses for gain of function, they call it. Now, what is gain of function? Gain of function is they're going to make it into something that it's not at the present time. And they want to make it into a bioweapon. Ooh, a bioweapon. What does that mean? Well, that means that this bioweapon could potentially kill a lot of people. That's simply put, that's what it is. Now, a lot of this, everybody, Tom, that's a conspiracy theory. Well, all the conspiracy theories over the last 6-7 years about Russia collusion and Donald Trump and all of the things that the news media, the mainstream news media, put in place to change your perspective, to change your perceptions of people in politics. I ask people all the time about, they say these bad things about Donald Trump, and I say, well, why do you say that? Well, they say because this, that, or and I said, no, they debunk that. That isn't real. That was the Democrats. That was the other party that was actually doing all that. So we have to realize that we are being programmed. And this isn't new, because if you haven't ever heard me talk about the Fabian Society, we'll talk about that today. Again, today is the negative day, and I don't like being negative. There is a bright light on the other side of everything I'm talking about, and I really mean that from my heart. So you gotta stay with me, and you gotta follow me for the next couple of days if you can do that, so that we get through this and actually give you some solutions to what we're doing, and I can leave you when I'm done here Wednesday at noon. I hope that some way I can change you for the positive. I can't go back in a time machine and start over again, although I would like to do that, and I have a rule. If I go back in time, I got to take back what I know today, because I wasn't too smart at 20 years old and 25 years old. It was a struggle, but it was a learning experience. Life is about learning. And that is what I hope and pray that I can provide you for the next couple of days, because why people fail? Because of their attitudes, their beliefs, and all of those things in our mind. They're self-destruction. We self-destruct ourselves. We don't have a plan, and the plan that might work, so there's no proof. And everything that I do is, and what I refer to people as, I recommend to people, everything I talk about, I can mathematically prove. And I'll throw it out there today as we go through the next couple of days. a $1,000 reward for anybody that can show me a better way to do what I do for the folks that are my clients. And I have folks that have been with me for 49 years. And we're about ready to go to the news here very quickly. But that's what it's about. No plan. How do you create a plan? You know, you have the term financial plan. Well, there are no congruent plans. There is no cohesive plans. In my 49 years, I've never met anybody that has come into my office and here's my written plan that has some kind of written plan to where they're going, how they're going to get there. We're going to take a break and we're going to come back and we're going to talk some more about major changes and the Club of Rome and OPEC and how they came to be and how they impact our success.
Beaver County Radio's news source, 95.7 and 99.3 FM, along with 1230 WBVP, 1460 WMBA, and streaming at beavercountyradio.com. Here's Curtis Walsh.
Good morning. We can expect partly sunny skies today with increasing clouds reaching a high of around 65 degrees. We'll have a complete Beaver County radio weather forecast after we take this look at news. New details have been revealed in a drug raid that took place in Center Township on Friday. Center Township police say 68-year-old Myra Knox, who is an ordained minister, lived at 133 Radcliffe Drive in Center Township. He was arrested early Friday morning when police, who were assisted by the DA's anti-drug task force and the county's ESU, used flashbangs to enter the home. Knox was charged with several felony and misdemeanor narcotic and firearm charges. Police Chief Aldo Ledge reported on Monday morning that trends in narcotic sales have changed, which include traffickers and dealers camouflaging within smaller, quiet communities so as to draw attention to their nefarious and dangerous activities. The chief said the police department is dedicated to providing and maintaining a safe environment for the community and its residents. Knox was taken to the county jail after being arraigned and has been released. He faces a hearing on all charges in relation to his arrest on Monday, June 17th at 8:45 a.m. in Beaver County Central Court. A man and his dog escaped a crash with injuries Saturday evening in New Brighton. The crash took place near a small mobile home court on Blockhouse Run Road. Witnesses say the driver struck a bridge and a tree before being ejected from the vehicle as it went into the creek. Numerous emergency crews responded to the scene. We do not have word on the condition of the driver or the dog at this time, and no further details have been made available. Beginning at approximately noon tomorrow, the Rochester-Monaca Bridge will be closing to all vehicular traffic continuously through Tuesday, August 20th, as the bridge will be undergoing various construction work. PennDOT has announced that there will be lane restrictions on Route 68 3rd Street in Beaver starting on Monday, June 10th, weather permitting. Today, lane restrictions will occur on Route 68 at the East End Avenue intersection weekdays from 8 a.m. until 5 p.m. through mid-July. Crews from Team Fishel will conduct gas line work for Columbia Gas. State police report that they responded to a report of a man's vehicle being damaged on June 2nd. A man and a woman reportedly entered into a verbal argument at Kelly's Riverside Saloon in Bridgewater after the man was seen at the bar with another woman. The woman proceeded to use a baseball bat to smash the rear lights of the man's vehicle. A charge of criminal mischief under $1,000 was filed. Emergency crews responded to a home in Freedom Saturday afternoon. A fire broke out on a porch of a residence on 4th Avenue. No injuries were reported and the fire was extinguished before making it to the rest of the house. And Kansas City Chiefs quarterback Patrick Mahomes' dog is named after the Pittsburgh Steelers. KDKA-TV reports that Brittany Mahomes, the wife of the star quarterback, said in an interview with People magazine that one of their two dogs is named after the Steelers, and the reason is that she used to be a fan. She says she got Steel while working at the University of Texas. The dog was a Valentine's Day gift from Patrick Mahomes when she was a junior. The Steelers will face Mahomes and the Chiefs on Christmas Day.
Here's the Beaver County forecast.
Calm and cool this morning. We'll see increasing clouds as the day goes on. It's not going to get much warmer either. Look for a high near 65. Mostly cloudy tonight. We'll drop down to a low around 46. Lots of sunshine tomorrow. We'll reach a high near 72. A beautiful day expected on Wednesday with lots of sunshine and a high near 80. And sunshine and warmer temps in the forecast for Thursday. A high near 87 is expected. I'm Lisa Marie with your Beaver County weather.
On this Monday, June the 10th of 2024, at 35 minutes past 9, we've got a temperature of 62 degrees with partly sunny skies in Beaver County. That's a look at the news for now. I'm Curtis Walsh on 99.3 FM and AM 1230 WBVP, also streaming live around the world at beavercountyradio.com.
The Rochester True Value, located inside the Shop and Save on the Ohio River Boulevard, is proudly serving the community. The Rochester True Value is independently owned and operated and has experienced workers who can help you with your home projects. The Rochester True Value has tools, products, and all the equipment needed for you to get the job done. The Rochester True Value inside the Shop and Save is open and ready to help with your home improvements. That's the Rochester True Value in Shop and Save on the Ohio River Boulevard.
Pizza Joe's offers Western Pennsylvania and Eastern Ohio some of the best variety in pizza, subs, strombolis, and more. Stop by your local Pizza Joe's in Beaver, Beaver Falls, Elwood City, or Cranberry Township and get a 9-cut cheese pizza and a 9-cut veggie pizza for just $20. You can't beat that. Visit pizzajoes.com for additional savings and to sign up for Pizza Joe's Points Loyalty Program. Specials are before tax and delivery. Offers and loyalty are available at participating locations. Everyone goes to Pizza Joe's.
The worst thing that a person can do for their family is die without a will. Please take the time to consult attorney Michael W. Nally of Nally, Elias & Associates for legal counsel and draft a last will and testament. Also, take the time to meet with your financial advisor and insurance agent to make certain you have current beneficiary accounts, annuities, and life insurance policies. Your last will and testament cannot be overstated. Call Nally, Elias & Associates, 150 Pleasant Drive, Aliquippa, and protect your future today.
The place for news, sports, and entertainment. You're listening to Beaver County Radio, 99.3 FM and 1230 WBVP, coming to you live from the all-new Fry Transportation Studios.
Looking for home services? Call Patriot Home Care in Beaver Falls. Their staff provides company, conversation, and companionship to all patients, ensuring medications are taken on time, participating in fun community activities, personal care, meal prep, and light household work are all services provided by Patriot Home Care, all thanks to the hardworking and selfless team members. Call Patriot Home Care at 724-506-8911 or stop in Patriot Home Care, 1225 7th Avenue, Beaver Falls. Looking for home services? Call Patriot Home Care in Beaver Falls. Their staff provides company, conversation, and companionship to all patients, ensuring medications are taken on time, participating in fun community activities, personal care, meal prep, and light household work are all services provided by Patriot Home Care, all thanks to the hardworking and selfless team members. Call Patriot Home Care at 724-506-8911 or stop in Patriot Home Care, 1225 7th Avenue, Beaver Falls.
The views and opinions expressed on WBVP and WMBA are those of the participants and host. They are not necessarily the viewpoint of WBVP and WMBA, its staff, management, and advertisers. Thank you for listening to WBVP and WMBA.
Where the listeners of Beaver County have a voice. Teleforum with Eddie Crow, 724-843-1888, 724-774-1888.
Hey, I'm back. They didn't throw me out. They didn't chase me out the door yet. So I guess I'm not saying things that, and again, what I talk about are Tom Young's opinions. They are not those of St. Barnabas. I'm sure they'll put a disclosure on here. But I really love them. I appreciate them so much for allowing me to come on here and share my own opinions and facts and information that I have gathered over my 49 years in the financial services business. You know, we talked about the U.S. debt clock in that first segment. We talked about the debt clock and how they manipulate the information to hide information, to change your perception, to interfere with your perspective on what's going on. And again, the phone lines are open. I don't want to sit here and talk just for 3 hours, although I can do that. I don't run out of words. But remember, you're welcome to call in and talk about any of this stuff I'm talking about. Your positive or negative experiences with the financial world in dealings. That's 724-843-1888. 724-774-1888. And Ryan would answer the phone for you. He's here running the board for me, which I appreciate so much, because I don't want to go over there and move all those buttons and things around. I just like to talk, I guess. When I look at this background, I go back to 2000 again. The population in the U.S. of A. was 284 million people on the planet. And again, this information comes from the usdebtclock.org. And in 2024, they have 336 million people in the USA. Now, that does not include my opinion, 30 million plus illegals and people that aren't registered, or they're here in some manner, not being counted in doing that. So we're looking at a $50 million increase in population in 24 years since 2000. However, the number of workers in America that were employees and workers was 161,375,000 in the year 2000. And right now it's 161,565,000. So basically it's the same number of employees. And it's important to do that. I think we have a call. We're gonna take this caller and see what's going on. Dawn.
Hey, how you doing,
Dawn?
Dom? Hey, do you think that maybe our only way out of this is to actually become the energy powerhouse of the world?
Oh, there's no question about that. It's like people in politics have an agenda that becomes their own. We elect them, and our election system is still the best in the world, as much as we question things that have gone on that need to be fixed. But God created, I believe, my opinion, I believe the U.S. of A. is a project of God's. And I'm sure he's rolling over right now, seeing what is going on in America. And that's across the board. And I'm not gonna get into anything in particular. I don't think I have to. I think those of us that have been around a while, I'm a patriot. I'm a veteran of the United States Air Force. My father and my brothers were all in the military, and I lost my best friend in Vietnam, Andy Fritsch. Those people paid a huge price so that you and I could sit here and do what we're doing today. I mean, I couldn't have this show in Russia. I couldn't have this show in Europe in most places. They wouldn't allow me to say the things that I say and think the thoughts that I have. Absolutely. Absolutely. What did Putin do to his opponent that was raising, a lot of people were following this guy. I don't remember his name, but they ended up putting him in prison, and he just died here not too long ago. That was one of Putin's, competitors for the job. And what do we have going on in America today? And nobody's going to convince me any other way that what's going on is what they're referring to as lawfare. This is unheard of. This is absolutely ridiculous. And all they did was to the point where they can say, well, he's a convicted felon now. And they figure that's going to cause people not to vote for him. And I hope and pray there's a message. His polls went up 6% afterwards. In the first 5 days after the conviction, he raised $200 million. We cannot afford not to elect Donald Trump. There's no way. And I know there are people, I don't like Donald Trump. I don't like his attitude or what he says. But I like his ability. I like what he can get done, and he proved that in the 4 years that he was already here. So... That's just like Hegworth's new book, A War on Warriors. I don't know if you've seen or heard much about that, but this is ridiculous. It's what's going on. It's like a plan to take America down. It's a plan to destroy America, to knock it down, because as long as we are the light on the hill, it keeps the rest of the world at bay, if anything else. I mean, what other reason would all these people in the world want to come to America? Because the American dream, it may be a little bit foggy right now, but it has not gone away, and it will be back. There is, it will be back. Thank you so much for the call. All right, God bless. Okay, so, we're back, and I almost forgot I had to put headphones on to take a phone call. But anyway, that was a great conversation, and it's just so great to know that there are people out there. And I believe that we are part of the silent majority. And all of my life and all of my career, I have never really got into what I'm doing today. Maybe I didn't feel confident enough or whatever, but I'm just sick and tired right now of what is going on, and it is not America. And it goes back as far as the Fabian Society on what was going on. And so I think we're going to I don't know where to start. I have so much material in front of me. And we talk about attitudes, perceptions, perspective. How do I change that? That is more a discussion we're going to talk about tomorrow, is how to get beyond where we are today. But one of my mentors, R. Nelson Nash, he talked about human nature. So human nature, he talked about Parkinson's law, Willie Sutton law, use it or lose it law, the arrival syndrome, and the golden rule. Now we're going to take a break, and then we'll be right back, and we're going to talk about more of the things that keep us from success.
You're busy, no time to cook, you're hungry, and the kids are too. Don't stress. Make it a McDonald's dinner tonight. Download the app and get McDelivery right to your door. Whatever you're hungry for, McDonald's has it. You're happy, the kids will be too. McDonald's, I'm loving it.
Pizza Joe's offers Western Pennsylvania and Eastern Ohio some of the best variety in pizza, subs, strombolis, and more. Stop by your local Pizza Joe's in Beaver, Beaver Falls, Elwood City, or Cranberry Township and get a 9-cut cheese pizza and a 9-cut veggie pizza for just $20. You can't beat that. Visit pizzajoes.com for additional savings and to sign up for Pizza Joe's Points Loyalty Program. Specials are before tax and delivery. Offers and loyalty are available at participating locations. Everyone goes to Pizza Joe's.
Beaver County Boom is happening June the 29th, and Beaver County Radio is the place to listen for all the coverage. Falcone's Moon Township Ford will present a live broadcast on Beaver County Radio from the VIP headquarters at Mario's 410 Grill from 6 until the choreographed fireworks and music get underway at 9:45. Take your radio along to listen or download our free apps on your mobile device, as Beaver County Radio is your exclusive place to hear the soundtrack to the fireworks. The Falcone's Moon Township Ford Beaver County Boom broadcast sponsors include City Rescue Mission, Pizza Joe's, Freedom United Federal Credit Union, Tom Sipes Demolition, St. Barnabas, Beaver County Radio, and BeaverCountyRadio.com. The 2024 Beaver County Boom broadcast is being presented by Falcone's Moon Township Ford, where friends send friends.
Talk about what's happening in Beaver County or around the world on Teleforum. 724-843-1888. 724-774-1888. It's Teleforum with Eddie Crow.
Hey, Joe. Thanks for calling. What can I answer for you? You're right. It is becoming a challenge, Joe. I think Tucker got let go. He was part of that $768 million deal with Dominion. And that's another topic altogether, because I have watched both days of Mike Lindell's cyber symposiums. You know, the first one was kind of broad, but the second one got right down to the point, and they tracked the code from China to Europe to the USA. They had the URLs of the computers. They have the longitude and latitude location of the computers. And it's all there. Now, about 60 days ago in Atlanta in a federal court, which is one of the lawsuits that Lindell's involved in that the mainstream media never reports on, so we never hear about what some of the real truth that's going on. His IT guy in a federal courtroom changed the vote in the Dominion machine. That was in a federal courtroom. He proved that the machines were hackable and the votes could be changed. And that, you know, so it's still out there, and then if we don't start talking about it in large numbers, that it's going to be forgotten. You know, it's still, they don't want to hear any more about the 2020 election, and I'm not ready to stop talking about it because nobody has seen what I have seen. And Mike Lindell, I don't think he would have spent the millions of dollars he spent and continues to spend to make people aware of the truth of what really happened. Now, I have a star on my arm. I actually got blocked on Truth Concepts, Trump's own website, a couple of months ago. I do a podcast 3 days a week, and I post on Truth Concepts, and all of a sudden I get an email from Truth Concepts, I'm banned. And I go, what did I do? And the only thing that I did that day, now I start all of my presentations with a prayer for everybody around the world. COVID, the wars, everything going on. We need to pray to the Lord above. And what I did that day is I said, you know, we pray for everybody that has been touched by COVID in some way or the vaccine, because now we know there's a lot of people that have had their health tremendously impaired and have died from the shots, from the vaccine, from the vaccine shots. And that was the only thing that I changed in my prayer, and they banned me. I got back on. I wrote them a letter and talked with them and all that, and they opened me back up, and I'm back on. But that's the only thing that I can relate to that might have caused me to be banned on Truth Concepts. So I'm sorry. You know, if you remember, all they counted was the ballots. The machines printed the ballot, but the information that was changed that Mike Lindell proved that the second 2-day symposium that he had, they actually captured the code, and the relationship is who created the Space Force. And the Space Force is not some spaceship thing. It's about cybersecurity. It's about all that. So the Space Force captured all of this information. And I'm not a computer IT person, but I have some clients that are. and I have specifically asked them the question. I says, is this code that they talk about, is that just like looking at French? In other words, I couldn't read French, but somebody else could convert it to U.S. They could translate it and do that. And they said, well, yeah, that's what code is. The code is the language that tells the computer what to do. And what they had was the actual vote count in the machines where the vote was actually changed from Trump to Biden. I mean, who on earth with any brains at all would believe that Biden got 180 million votes in that election? He's going to need a lot of votes if he's thinking he's going to win, but I don't think he's going to make it. This is about ready to be turned upside down, and maybe you want to tune back into my 10:30. I have a caller coming in at 10 o'clock, and Len Rainier, and we're going to talk about the Federal Reserve and a lot of things about money. But I'm going to get into my story of the Club of Rome and the Fabian Society and how did we get here? I mean, you sound like an honest patriot. I mean, my stomach turns when I see the 11 o'clock news and I see these kids in college with Palestinian flags and stuff that's going on. I want to throw up. I mean, how did these kids get to the point where they believe now that America is something other than it is? So they had to have been indoctrinated. There's no question. There's no question about that. And I think the education program through the federal government needs to go away. I mean, it's useless. It is what has created what we have today in young kids that have no pride anymore in America. Where did it go? It really, really befuddles me. Again, thank you for the call. All right, Joe. God bless, man. Yes, sir. Yeah, thank you. Thank you, yes. All right, so we're back. We're getting close to the 10 o'clock hour here. And I just want to touch. I got a book giveaway, and Joe and Dawn, both of the callers, call in. And Ryan, when somebody calls in and before they hang up, we want to get a mailing address. I don't want it online. Can't give it to me online, but I'm going to give away books. And Joe and Dawn, I know you're out there listening to the show. If you would email me at firedupT, FIREDUPT is in Tom, firedupT@comcast.net. Send me a mailing address, and I will send you an autographed copy of my book, The Family Money Farm, the CFO Project, and there is a gift inside the book for you. I think you'll find it quite unique. But if you will email me and send me your mailing address, I will send you an autographed copy of my book, The Family Money Farm, the CFO Project. You can also get that book if you go online to CFO-project.com and put in your name and email address. You can get an email with a link in it that will allow you to download that book cover to cover, plus my second book, which is an ebook called Financial Mastery Coaching, The Blueprint. Now, everything that I do regarding the financial world and the financial advice that I give people, it is all about financial education. It's about mathematics. So we've got to be able to prove what we're telling people to do. We have to be able to prove that it's right. And there's a concept called Monte Carlo out there that you put all your stuff in and they run a Monte Carlo. And the Monte Carlo software does 1 million iterations and comes back and says, well, you have a 94% chance of making it to your retirement plan the way you're planning it here. Now, I don't know about you, but I think retirement planning is as important as getting on an airplane and flying to Chicago. And if I got on an airplane to fly to Chicago and the pilot come on and said, look, folks, everything looks good today. We got a 94% chance we're going to get to Chicago today. Would you just sit there calmly? Or how quickly would you find the exit door to get back the heck off of that airplane and do that? But that's what financial planning has come to in this country. And it is no longer It is no longer about you. I have all these initials after my name. I've taken all these courses for the last 49 years, and all I learned, all they taught me was how to take control of your money and give it to them. And say, oh, don't worry, they'll take care of your money. And I don't know about you, but if you've ever gone through the downturns of the stock market in your 401k, it was kind of a sickening feeling when you drop 30, 40% of your account value and what we're doing. So I think we're about ready to go to break in the news, but this stuff we're talking about, and when I come back, we're talking about Parkinson's law, Willie Sutton law, use it or lose it, the arrival syndrome, and the golden rule. Not the one you think it is. This is a different golden rule, and we're going to break and the news at 10 o'clock.
You're listening to 99.3 FM, presented by St. Barnabas, in addition to 1230 WBVP Beaver Falls. Beaver County Radio's news source. 95.7 and 99.3 FM, along with 1230 WBVP, 1460 WMBA, and streaming at beavercountyradio.com. Here's Curtis Walsh.
Good morning on this Monday, June the 10th of 2024. We can expect partly sunny skies today with increasing clouds throughout the day, only reaching a high of about 65 degrees. We'll have a complete Beaver County radio weather forecast after this look at news. New information has come out about a drug raid that took place in Center Township on Friday. Police say 68-year-old Reverend Myron Knox of 133 Radcliffe Drive in Center Township was arrested early last Friday morning when police, assisted by the DA's Anti-Drug Task Force and the county's ESU, used flashbangs to enter the home. Knox was charged with several felony and misdemeanor narcotic and firearm charges. Police Chief Aldo Ledge reported Monday that trends in narcotic sales have changed, which include traffickers and dealers camouflaging within smaller, quiet communities so as to draw attention to their nefarious and dangerous activities. The chief said the police department is dedicated to providing and maintaining a safe environment for the community and its residents. Knox was taken to the county jail after being arraigned, and he has since been released. He faces a hearing on all charges on Monday, June 17th in Beaver County Court. Beginning at approximately noon tomorrow, the Rochester-Monaca Bridge is set to close to all vehicular traffic continuously through Tuesday, August 20th. The bridge will be undergoing various construction work. A man and his dog escaped a crash with injuries Saturday evening in New Brighton. The crash took place near a small mobile home court on Blockhouse Run Road. Witnesses say the driver struck a bridge and a tree before he was ejected from the vehicle as it plunged into the creek. Numerous emergency crews responded to the scene. We do not have word on the current condition of the driver or dog, and we are currently working on gathering more details. Emergency crews responded to a home in Freedom Saturday afternoon. A fire broke out on a porch of a residence on 4th Avenue. No injuries were reported, and the fire was extinguished before it made it to the rest of the house. State police report that they responded to a report of a man's vehicle being damaged on June 2nd. A man and a woman reportedly entered into a verbal argument at Kelly's Riverside Saloon in Bridgewater after the man was seen at the bar with another woman. The woman proceeded to use a baseball bat to smash the rear lights of the man's vehicle. A charge of criminal mischief under $1,000 was filed. PennDOT District 11 has announced lane restrictions on Route 68 3rd Street in Beaver. Those were set to begin today. Lane restrictions will occur on Route 68 at the East End Avenue intersection weekdays from 8 a.m. until 5 p.m. through mid-July. Crews from Team Fishel will be conducting gas line work for Columbia Gas. And Apple's annual Worldwide Developers Conference today is expected to herald the company's move into generative artificial intelligence, marking its late arrival to a technological frontier that's expected to be as revolutionary as the invention of the iPhone. The widely anticipated display of AI to be embedded on the iPhone will be the marquee moment at an event that previews the next version of software that powers the company's hardware lineup. Apple's next generation of software is expected to be packed with an array of AI-designed features.
Here's the Beaver County forecast.
Calm and cool this morning. We'll see increasing clouds as the day goes on. It's not going to get much warmer either. Look for a high near 65. Mostly cloudy tonight. We'll drop down to a low around 46. Lots of sunshine tomorrow. We'll reach a high near 72. A beautiful day expected on Wednesday with lots of sunshine and a high near 80. And sunshine and warmer temps in the forecast for Thursday. A high near 87 is expected. I'm Lisa Marie with your Beaver County weather.
On this Monday, June the 10th of 2024, at 9 minutes past 10, we've got a temperature of 62 degrees with partly cloudy skies in Beaver County. That's a look at the news for now. I'm Curtis Walsh on 99.3 FM and AM 1230 WBVP, also streaming at beavercountyradio.com.
Looking for home services? Call Patriot Home Care in Beaver Falls. Their staff provides company, conversation, and companionship to all patients, ensuring medications are taken on time, participating in fun community activities, personal care, meal prep, and light household work are all services provided by Patriot Home Care, all thanks to the hardworking and selfless team members. Call Patriot Home Care at 724-506-8911 or stop in Patriot Home Care, 1225 7th Avenue, Beaver Falls.
Your home for everything in Beaver County. 99.3 FM and 1230 WBVP, coming to you live from the all-new Fry Transportation Studios.
The Rochester True Value, located inside the Shop and Save on the Ohio River Boulevard, is proudly serving the community. The Rochester True Value is independently owned and operated and has experienced workers who can help you with your home projects. The Rochester True Value has tools, products, and all the equipment needed for you to get the job done. The Rochester True Value inside the Shop and Save is open and ready to help with your home improvements. That's the Rochester True Value in Shop and Save on the Ohio River Boulevard.
Now, it's time to talk on Teleforum on Beaver County Radio. 1230 WBVP, 1460 WMBA, 99.3 FM, and BeaverCountyRadio.com. And now, here is the host of the show, Eddie Crow.
Hey. Again, I'm not Eddie Crow. I love Eddie, and I love what he does when I have my regular monthly show. But I'm here filling in for Eddie Crow. And we have a caller, a guest today, Mr. Leonard Rainier from Chicago. And I have known, Len, how long have I known you? We've been 30, 35 years. We've been... I talked earlier about your books and what you've done, the unintended consequences, the family legacy, essential lessons, the defining moments, sudden impact, and a book called Flawed. I love that book called Flawed, and I passed that out to so many people. And what I kind of want to do today, like I think I mentioned to you, tell me just a little bit about your background, Len, and what is your perspective and perception of what's going on today with the financial world? Now, You know, you know, the times that I have been with you have been awakening, and you always, you know, I call it the 30,000-foot view, but you know what you talked about a long time ago: people living longer, fewer people paying into the system, America's inability to save money, and I printed something out yesterday that in COVID in 2020, the savings rate in America reached 32%. Could you? I mean, I can't comprehend that, but because I mean, people were shut in and at home and weren't doing anything, weren't spending any money, and guess what? The savings rate is as of right now, June of 2024, 3.6. So. Right. Now, there was a Senator Kennedy I listened to the other day, and he was questioning Janet Yellen in Congress in a congressional hearing, and they were talking about, right now the 10-year Treasuries are yielding around 4%. And in October, November of last year, Janet Yellen said, well, they were going to focus on short-term debt, and the short-term Treasuries are paying, they're charging 5%. So what Kennedy was pointing out was, well, you can borrow money for 10 years at 4%, and you're borrowing at 5% and paying 1% more interest. In effect, you're putting more capital into the marketplace, which is in defiant of controlling inflation, which is what, on the other hand, the Federal Reserve is trying to control inflation by raising interest rates and slowing down the economy, which they have stopped doing that now. And my opinion is that their own $7 trillion plus portfolio is underwater because they've raised interest rates. They've already killed a half a dozen banks because of the raising interest rates, and their own portfolio is underwater. I believe that's why they stopped raising rates. What is you? I mean, you've spoken to the Federal Reserve Board. I know you've done presentations there. What is your take on this movement of interest rates currently? No, that's not in the equation. They don't even talk about that. Well, It's funny, you know, the 401k, I talk with everybody about that, and I ask three simple questions. I mean, without thinking about the devaluing of the dollar through inflation, I say, you know, do you think with the debt at $35 trillion and the unfunded liability now, I don't know if you're aware, but I was in the debt clock yesterday, and they now have taken off and removed from the screen the unfunded liability. You know, it was $215 trillion. 4.5 years ago, it was $117 trillion. So in 4 years and 6 months, because I did a video in December of 19, and the debt was $23 trillion, and the unfunded liability was $117. Now 4 years and 5-6 months later, the debt's $35 trillion, and the unfunded liability was at $215. And just in the last week, 10 days, because it hit the news the other day, it come up that the debt showed zero on the U.S. debt clock. I don't know if you saw that article or saw that. And here it is. It's back today, but the unfunded liability is gone. It's no different than when they took off the per citizen was a number. You know, here's the per citizen. And on the unfunded liability, there was per taxpayer. Well, when that per taxpayer went over $1 million, they removed it from the screen. So it's just another way that helps prevent people from getting knowledge, education, and being made aware of what's really going on. If you do things the way they've always been done, they don't know what that is. Yep. Yeah. Hey, Len, I got to take a hard break. Do you want to hang around about 8-10 minutes and come back? Okay, so we're going to go to the news, and we'll be back in 10 minutes.
Beaver County Radio's news source, 95.7 and 99.3 FM, along with 1230 WBVP, 1460 WMBA, and streaming at beavercountyradio.com. Here's Curtis Walsh.
Good morning on this Monday, June the 10th of 2024. At 30 minutes past 10, we've got a temperature of about 63 degrees with cloudy skies. We're only expecting a high of about 65 today. We'll have a complete Beaver County radio weather forecast after we take this look at news. Center Township Police report that 68-year-old Reverend Myron Knox of 133 Radcliffe Drive in Center Township was arrested early Friday morning when police, who were assisted by the DA's Anti-Drug Task Force and the county's ESU, used flashbangs to enter the home for a raid. Knox was charged with several felony and misdemeanor narcotic and firearm charges. Police Chief Aldo Ledge reported Monday morning that trends in narcotic sales have changed, which include traffickers and dealers camouflaging within smaller, quiet communities as to not draw attention to their nefarious and dangerous activities. The chief said the police department is dedicated to providing and maintaining a safe environment for the community and its residents. Knox was taken to the county jail after being arraigned and has been released. He faces a hearing on all charges on Monday, June 17th in Beaver County Court. A man and his dog escaped a crash with injuries Saturday evening in New Brighton. The crash took place near a small mobile home court on Blockhouse Run Road. Witnesses say the driver struck a bridge and a tree before he was ejected from the vehicle as it plunged into a creek. Numerous emergency crews responded to the scene. We do not have word on the current condition of the driver or dog and are currently working on gathering more details. Emergency crews responded to a home in Freedom Saturday afternoon. A fire broke out on a porch of a residence on 4th Avenue. No injuries were reported, and the fire was extinguished before making it to the rest of the house. Beginning at approximately noon tomorrow, the day that nobody really wants to happen. The Rochester-Monaca Bridge is set to close to all vehicular traffic continuously through August 20th. Once again, for motorists, final warning, tomorrow at noon, the Rochester-Monaca Bridge will be closing to all traffic through Tuesday, August 20th. The bridge will be undergoing various construction work. PennDOT has also announced that lane restrictions on Route 68 3rd Street in Beaver have started today. Lane restrictions will occur daily on Route 68 at the East End Avenue intersection weekdays from 8 a.m. until 5 p.m. through mid-July. Crews from Team Fishel will conduct gas line work for Columbia Gas. State police report that they responded to a report of a man's vehicle being damaged on June 2nd. A man and a woman reportedly entered into a verbal argument at Kelly's Riverside Saloon in Bridgewater after the man was seen at the bar with another woman. The woman proceeded to use a baseball bat to smash the rear lights of the man's vehicle. A charge of criminal mischief under $1,000 was filed. And Kansas City Chiefs quarterback Patrick Mahomes' dog is named after the Pittsburgh Steelers. Brittany Mahomes, the wife of the star quarterback, said in an interview recently with People magazine that one of their two dogs is named after the Steelers, and that's because she used to be a fan of the team. She says she got Steel while attending the University of Texas. The dog was a Valentine's Day gift from Patrick Mahomes when she was a junior. The Steelers will face Mahomes and the Chiefs on Christmas Day at 1 p.m.
Here's the Beaver County forecast.
Calm and cool this morning. We'll see increasing clouds as the day goes on. It's not going to get much warmer either. Look for a high near 65. Mostly cloudy tonight. We'll drop down to a low around 46. Lots of sunshine tomorrow. We'll reach a high near 72. A beautiful day expected on Wednesday with lots of sunshine and a high near 80. And sunshine and warmer temps in the forecast for Thursday. A high near 87 is expected. I'm Lisa Marie with your Beaver County weather.
On this Monday, June the 10th of 2024, at 35 minutes past 10, we've got a temperature of 63 degrees with clouds in Beaver County. That's a look at the news for now. I'm Curtis Walsh on 99.3 FM and AM 1230 WBVP, also streaming live around the world at beavercountyradio.com.
The Rochester True Value, located inside the Shop and Save on the Ohio River Boulevard, is proudly serving the community. The Rochester True Value is independently owned and operated and has experienced workers who can help you with your home projects. The Rochester True Value has tools, products, and all the equipment needed for you to get the job done. The Rochester True Value inside the Shop and Save is open and ready to help with your home improvements. That's the Rochester True Value in Shop and Save on the Ohio River Boulevard.
Friendly Federal Credit Union is honoring graduates this month. Forget the fancy gadgets, jewelry, or lavish parties. Get your graduate a gift that will provide numerous benefits. A graduate account at Friendly Federal Credit Union. This is Cindy Hiladio. Graduate accounts at Friendly Federal include free checks, a $500 credit limit Visa card with approved credit, online access, great personal service, and a debit card tied to the account. Here's the great news. I've got applications for you and your graduate. Your student has until the end of this month to apply for the annual Anthony S. Payne and Carl D. Ross Memorial Scholarships. While they're doing that, you can apply for a low 2.75% home equity loan. Available now with approved credit. Visit Friendly Federal Credit Union for more information or click friendlyfcu.org. It's the place that makes more sense for you. Equal Housing Lender, member NCUA.
Looking for home services? Call Patriot Home Care in Beaver Falls. Their staff provides company, conversation, and companionship to all patients, ensuring medications are taken on time, participating in fun community activities, personal care, meal prep, and light household work are all services provided by Patriot Home Care, all thanks to the hardworking and selfless team members. Call Patriot Home Care at 724-506-8911 or stop in Patriot Home Care, 1225 7th Avenue, Beaver Falls.
Beaver County Boom is happening June the 29th, and Beaver County Radio is the place to listen for all the coverage. Falcone's Moon Township Ford will present a live broadcast on Beaver County Radio from the VIP headquarters at Mario's 410 Grill from 6 until the choreographed fireworks and music get underway at 9:45. Take your radio along to listen or download our free apps on your mobile device, as Beaver County Radio is your exclusive place to hear the soundtrack to the fireworks. The Falcones Boone Township Ford Beaver County Boone broadcast sponsors include Friendly Federal Credit Union, Tri-County McDonald's, the Hopewell Shopping Center, Electric Garage Door Sales, the Community College of Beaver County Radio, and BeaverCountyRadio.com. The 2024 Beaver County Boone broadcast is being presented by Falcones Boone Township Ford, where friends send friends.
When accidents and injuries happen, you need the experience and insight of the legal team at Luxembourg, Garbett, Kelly & George. Since 1934, they've been committed to the physical and financial recovery of personal injury victims. Attorney Larry Kelly.
At Luxembourg, Garbett, Kelly & George, we have a culture. And that culture is that we're not going to get out-lawyered. We're going to make sure that we know the law as well as anybody. You don't even have an idea what facts are important until you know the law. Once we identify the law, we know what facts will determine the outcome of this case, and then we go out and investigate those facts to make sure that we have a factual pattern that is supported by the law that could lead to a successful outcome for our clients.
For your initial consultation, call the law firm of Luxembourg, Garbett, Kelly & George at 724-658-8535 or online at lgkg.com. Luxembourg, Garbett, Kelly & George, keeping promises for over 80 years.
Where the listeners of Beaver County have a voice. Teleforum with Eddie Crow, 724-843-1888, 724-774-1888.
Hey, it's not Eddie Crow today. I'm Tom Young, and we're in here filling in for Eddie while he's off. My guest is still there. Len, are you still there? Thank you for holding over. Let's talk about, I want to talk about your books just to give you a promotion. You know, The Unintended Consequences, Family Legacy, Essential Lessons, The Defining Moment, Sudden Impact, Flawed, and the newest one, Hiddenomics. Folks, these books are all available on Amazon. You need to get this information. Len Ranier has been a friend for 30 plus years, and he is one of my mentors. He's one of the people that I have listened to and has been part of molding me to who and what I am today and what I do. And I can't thank you enough for that, Len, for being there and just being a good friend. Let's talk about risk taxes, regulations, and inflation, sort of how each one of those might impact us. None of them, really. Yep. Yeah. You know, it's funny. It's funny when you talk about inflation, and I run, you know, a spreadsheet for a client. You know, we got all their assets in and their income and their Social Security and any pension or whatever, and we make a projection into the future, making assumptions. And I don't like the word assume because it makes it out of you and me in doing that. And you know, I'll do it the first time I do it. I say zero inflation. So we're just looking at the dollars today and projecting them into the future. And many times I do that, man, they never run out of money. And then I look at them and I say, boy, is that reality? And I said, you know, the historical number the government talks about is 3.1, is the last 30 plus years of the average inflation rate, excluding the last couple of years. And as soon as I plug in that 3.1% or 3.4, guess what? They run out of money at age 72. And what I have found is many times when I talk with people, when I bring the reality into the equation and they actually see the reality of risk, taxes, regulations, inflation, devaluing the money, and now they're looking at their money and going forward, they get discouraged. I've had people they don't do anything. It freezes them in their thinking, and I'm just I don't mean to do that to people, but I try to help people every day of what I do based on what I've learned from you and Don Blanton and some other people that have been my mentors in my 49-year career, and I get frustrated when I either I don't connect with the client that I'm talking to or the prospect that I'm talking to, or they just shut down when they see the severity of the problem. They shut down. Yeah. Right. And Len, we have an answer. There was, I want to say that, folks, today, Len, I was my plan. I'm doing this for 3 days this week, filling in for Eddie Crow, the host when I'm here. And I told everybody today was the bad day. Today was the day we were going to talk about all the reasons why people, by design, are planning to fail, or they're being planned to fail by government, Federal Reserve, Wall Street, in the advice that they give. You have those initials after your name, I have them after mine, and all I learned was how to gather people's money and assets for the benefit of the financial world, and not really teaches the client much of anything at all. Len, I'm about out of time. I'm coming to a hard break, and I want to thank you a lot for coming on here today. I will continue to promote your books, and I have them on my shelf in my office, folks. If you want one, borrow one, buy one from me, go to Amazon, and you can get Leonard's books. But folks, you got to get into this. You got to get the correct information so that you have a chance to end up with some financial security by the time you get ready to retire. And I keep telling people almost that retirement is becoming a myth. If you retire, you can't unhinge from being able to make money, because we're on the verge of some possible really big things happening that would really put a chink in everybody's armor in what's going on. But God bless, Len. Thank you so much for coming on today. God bless you, man. Bye-bye. Well, folks, that was Len Raniere, my friend and mentor from long ago, and I still see him a couple times a year. But it's really what it's about. It's finding a way. How do I know that the information is the right information? How do I know that it's correct? If the person you're talking to financially and all they're doing is talking about this product or that product, and they're talking about, oh, my product makes a better rate of return than somebody else, and they never really get into the big picture. How does this new product they're recommending to you fit into their overall strategy? I don't like the word planning. I like strategies, because strategies are things that if you have a certain mix of products, it opens the doorway to certain kinds of strategies. Now, I have a video on YouTube. You can search it and find it. It's called The Wicked, Wicked Game by Thomas Young. You got to put that in, because there's a lot of stuff out there that's called The Wicked, Wicked Game. And it's about a 50-minute video. The first part of it talks about the U.S. debt clock. And that video was created in 2019. And I really, really challenge you, pay attention to the numbers in 2019. Again, we're only 4 years and 6 months from when I created that video in December of 2019. And the debt and the unfunded liability, what's the unfunded liability? Well, they took it off the screen. I wonder why they took it off the screen, because maybe the number's just getting too big and they don't want you to know. But then it could be the door opening for the rainbow currency. Rainbow currency? What is that, Tom? Well, we're going to talk about that later in the program today. And rainbow currency is the new currency being created that is backed by gold, silver, and precious metals. You're going to exchange your fiat currency for rainbow currency. And the debt is going to go away in a large part. I'll get into that in more detail when we come back.
Beaver County Radio, your hometown radio station. You're listening live from the Fry Transportation Studios. Beaver County Radio and Fry Transportation, proud to call Beaver County home.
The Rochester True Value, located inside the Shop and Save on the Ohio River Boulevard, is proudly serving the community. The Rochester True Value is independently owned and operated and has experienced workers who can help you with your home projects. The Rochester True Value has tools, products, and all the equipment needed for you to get the job done. The Rochester True Value inside the Shop and Save is open and ready to help with your home improvements. That's the Rochester True Value in Shop and Save on the Ohio River Boulevard.
Start your day with breakfast at McDonald's. Enjoy their 2 for $5 sausage egg McMuffin. Whether you're on your way to work or on your way to school, McDonald's has the right breakfast for you. McDonald's breakfast. I'm loving it.
Looking for home services? Call Patriot Home Care in Beaver Falls. Their staff provides company, conversation, and companionship to all patients, ensuring medications are taken on time, participating in fun community activities, personal care, meal prep, and light household work are all services provided by Patriot Home Care, all thanks to the hardworking and selfless team members. Call Patriot Home Care at 724-506-8911 or stop in Patriot Home Care, 1225 7th Avenue, Beaver Falls.
You're listening to 99.3 FM, presented by St. Barnabas, in addition to 1230 WBVP Beaver Falls. Beaver County Radio's news source. 95.7 and 99.3 FM, along with 1230 WBVP, 1460 WMBA, and streaming at beavercountyradio.com. Here's Curtis Walsh.
Good morning on this Monday, June the 10th of 2024. We can expect clouds today with a high only reaching about 65 degrees. We'll have a complete Beaver County radio weather forecast after this look at news. Center Township Police report that 68-year-old Reverend Myron Knox of 133 Radcliffe Drive in Center Township was arrested early Friday morning when police, assisted by the DA's Anti-Drug Task Force and the county's ESU, performed a raid on the property using flashbangs to enter the home. Knox was charged with several felony and misdemeanor narcotic and firearm charges. Police Chief Aldo Ledge reported Monday morning that trends in narcotic sales have changed, which include traffickers and dealers camouflaging within smaller, quiet communities. The chief says the police department is dedicated to providing and maintaining a safe environment for the community. Knox was taken to the county jail after being arraigned and has since been released. He faces a hearing on all charges in relation to his arrest on Monday, June 17th in Beaver County Court. A man and his dog escaped a crash with injuries Saturday evening in New Brighton. The crash took place near a small mobile home court on Blockhouse Run Road. Witnesses say the driver struck a bridge and a tree before being ejected from the vehicle as it plunged into the creek. Numerous emergency crews responded to the scene. We do not have word on the current condition of the driver or dog. We are currently working on gathering more details. Emergency crews responded to a home in Freedom Saturday afternoon. A fire broke out on a porch of a residence on 4th Avenue. No injuries were reported, and the fire was extinguished quickly before it made it to the rest of the house. A reminder to motorists that tomorrow, the Rochester-Monaca Bridge will close to all vehicular traffic at noon, and that closure will last until Tuesday, August 20th. The bridge will be undergoing various construction work. PennDOT has also announced lane restrictions on Route 68 3rd Street in Beaver. Those were set to begin today. Lane restrictions will occur on 68 at the East End Avenue intersection weekdays from 8 a.m. until 5 p.m. through mid-July. Crews from Team Fishel will conduct gas line work for Columbia Gas. And state police report that they responded to a report of a man's vehicle being damaged on June 2nd. A man and a woman reportedly entered into a verbal argument at Kelly's Riverside Saloon in Bridgewater after the man was seen at the bar with another woman. The woman proceeded to use a baseball bat to smash the rear lights of the man's vehicle. A charge of criminal mischief under $1,000 was filed. And authorities say human remains have been found in the former residence of a man convicted last week of murder in the death of his wife. The Johnstown Tribune Democrat reports that 48-year-old Brian Giles lived with Nancy Giles in an apartment in the Johnstown house before she went missing in October 2018. Her remains were found in May 2019, and on Thursday he was convicted of first-degree murder and aggravated assault in her death. On Friday, authorities said human remains were found in the basement of the home, and officials are trying to identify them and determine the case and manner of death. Giles' attorney declined comment.
Here's the Beaver County forecast.
Calm and cool this morning. We'll see increasing clouds as the day goes on. It's not going to get much warmer either. Look for a high near 65. Mostly cloudy tonight. We'll drop down to a low around 46. Lots of sunshine tomorrow. We'll reach a high near 72. A beautiful day expected on Wednesday with lots of sunshine and a high near 80. And sunshine and warmer temps in the forecast for Thursday. A high near 87 is expected. I'm Lisa Marie with your Beaver County weather.
On this Monday, June the 10th of 2024, at 8 minutes past 11, we've got a temperature of 64 degrees with clouds in Beaver County. That's a look at the news for now. I'm Curtis Walsh on 99.3 FM and AM 1230 WBVP, also streaming at beavercountyradio.com. Here is a question that's very easy to answer. Would you rather be sold something or get professional help and advice that ultimately leads to a strategy that best suits your needs? Tom Young at First Consultants Inc. in Beaver has a unique approach that has won over the trust of even the most skeptical clients.
Everybody that's selling is looking for a profit. I focus on creating strategies that are in the client's best interest.
Ask yourself this: What have you got to lose? The answer might be a fortune. Get financial strategies instead of a pitch about a product. Visit firstconsultantsinc.com or be a part of Tom Young's live simulcast presentation on the third Tuesday of each month beginning at 9:10 a.m. on Beaver County Radio and Facebook Live. All advisory services are offered through PL Wealth LLC. PL Wealth is a federally registered investment advisor. PL Wealth is in no way affiliated with First Consultants Inc., nor is First Consultants Inc. a registered investment advisor.
Start your day with breakfast at McDonald's. Enjoy their 2 for $3 mix and match breakfast special. Whether you're on your way to work or on your way to school, McDonald's has the right breakfast for you. McDonald's breakfast. I'm loving it.
The place for news, sports, and entertainment. You're listening to Beaver County Radio, 99.3 FM and WBVP, live from the all-new Fry Transportation Studios.
Talk about what's happening in Beaver County or around the world on Teleforum. 724-843-1888. 724-774-1888. It's Teleforum with Eddie Crow.
Hey, I'm not Eddie Crow. I'm Tom Young, and I miss him. I love it when he does my show when I'm here on my monthly regular show. It is great to be with you today. I hope you enjoyed the information from Mr. Renier, Len Renier. You can get any of his books. Put his name, Leonard, Leonard, Renier, on Amazon. The books are must read. If you really want to know the truth and you want to get a handle on what's going on, I think tomorrow is going to be a great show because I have a lot more negative stuff to talk about today that's going on, but tomorrow will be the answer day. So tomorrow we're going to talk about how do I survive the coming crash? How do I survive all of this stuff that's going on? And how do I win some of this game against the powerful Wall Street, Federal Reserve, and the government deep state bureaucrats that are out to turn us all into little lemmings so that we all become followers with no leadership. So it's going to be interesting to do that. Now, we're down to the last hour. I can't believe we're already 2 hours into the show today. And I haven't touched many of my notes. I still have a ton of papers here in front of me. And what I want to do is I mentioned before we went to the news, rainbow currency. And what is rainbow currency? Well, if you understand what's been going on in the world, they have been trying to bring down the U.S. dollar. In other words, right now, the United States dollar is the dominant dollar bill, $100 bill in the world, and it is our currency. There are a lot of countries that actually use our currency as their currency in South America. They do that. But this thing called BRICS, B-R-I-C-S, which, and I don't know what they all stand for, but the R is for Russia, I is for India, the C is for China. And if you add those together as powerhouses and you add together the population of China and India and Russia, you're talking half of the world's population in just those three countries with what's going on. And they are working at creating a new currency. Now, I don't know whether it's related to rainbow currency or not, but rainbow currency is tentatively the new currency that is going to come into being, because the Federal Reserve, I talked about this earlier, is on the edge of bankruptcy. They are operating in the red for the first time since their creation in 1913. And again, they were created by a bunch of rich bankers and very, very rich business people back at that time. And parallel to the Federal Reserve was the IRS. The IRS was created. Now, I'm working on a new book called The Scoundrels of Finance, which is the current working name of this book that I'm working on. And I've written several books that are related to the financial industry. Life Insurance Will It Pay When I Die, The Family Money Farm, The CFO Project. and Financial Mastery Coaching, The Blueprint. And so when I look at this book is going to be more of a espionage, murder mystery, or whatever. So do we have a caller? Georgie Porgy. Let's talk to Georgie Porgy. Hello, Georgie Porgy. I'm doing absolutely great, sir. What's your comment today? You got to believe in the Lord above, and he is the answer to all and everything. I've heard so many people talking about the coming and everything else, and the reset. The World Economic Forum talking about depopulation in the world. United Nations having the World Army, and I do not see that coming into being. However, between now and after that, there is going to be, I sort of agree with you, a lot of upside down turmoil. Are you familiar with NESARA? NESARA. NESARA. I would send you to YouTube and look up a gentleman by the name of Dr. Scott Young. Not related in any way, just got the same name as I have. Dr. Scott Young, and listen to some of his presentations. He has written several books on the subject, and he is, in my opinion, right now, the source of all information. NESARA is the reset of everything, and that is the movement to what I referred to earlier as the rainbow currency, which is a new currency backed by gold, silver, and precious metals. Now, if you follow anything about the BRICS, which is Russia, China, India, and a couple other major countries are forming BRICS, and their job, their goal is to take down the U.S. dollar. The debt that we have, people don't want to borrow our money and don't want to loan us money anymore. We've already had our ratings downgraded by the financial rating services. So I think it's a matter of time and until that happens. But I would suggest you look up Dr. Scott Young and listen. And I don't say this, believe me, folks, I'm an optimist. I'm a believer in the future. I don't say anything to try to scare people into doing something. I just think you need to be aware, because if you wake up tomorrow morning and the emergency broadcast system is the only thing you can pick up on your TV and radio and all of that, you need to be prepared and not panic, because that would mean to me that the process has started. And that process is going to eliminate all the debt. The Federal Reserve is going to go away, the fiat currency that is worthless today. Because when that started in 72, and I'll talk about this in the next segment, the fiat currency that we have today is really about worthless, other than what the government says it's worth. There's nothing physically worth value backing it except the government's ability to collect our taxes. And that is another game in all of its own, because we are the collateral for the government's debt. But yes. I have invested in some gold coinage and I only invest in coins that are created by governments, not ingots that aren't marketed or whatever. And majority of what I have are silver eagles. See, silver eagle is a silver dollar coin minted by the U.S. government, and it is an ounce of sterling silver. So that is what I have, and I have a substantial amount of silver. Because if the crap hits the fan, and my opinion that it has to, I mean, we can't continue on with the debt and the unfunded liability where we're sitting at right now. when that stops, I want to be able to buy a loaf of bread or buy something, and that ounce of silver, I think, will be easier to trade. Again, my opinion, will be easier to trade than coming up with fractional ounces of gold because of the value of gold. It's now over $2,400 an ounce. And I remember it wasn't that long ago, it was only $1,600, $1,700, $1,800, and now it's at $2,400. And so the rainbow currency will set the value of gold as way it was before. But thank you so much for the call, and we're going to take a what? Yep, go ahead. We did. Your voice it sounds familiar. You're okay. Freedom High School. Well, give me your first name. George. Okay. Well, it's been a few years, George. It's been a few years, but anyway, we're up on a hard break, and God bless you, my friend. Yes. Bye-bye.
The Rochester True Value, located inside the Shop and Save on the Ohio River Boulevard, is proudly serving the community. The Rochester True Value is independently owned and operated and has experienced workers who can help you with your home projects. The Rochester True Value has tools, products, and all the equipment needed for you to get the job done. The Rochester True Value inside the Shop and Save is open and ready to help with your home improvements. That's the Rochester True Value in Shop and Save on the Ohio River Boulevard.
Looking for home services? Call Patriot Home Care in Beaver Falls. Their staff provides company, conversation, and companionship to all patients, ensuring medications are taken on time, participating in fun community activities, personal care, meal prep, and light household work are all services provided by Patriot Home Care, all thanks to the hardworking and selfless team members. Call Patriot Home Care at 724-506-8911 or stop in Patriot Home Care, 1225 7th Avenue, Beaver Falls.
Friendly Federal Credit Union is honoring graduates this month. Forget the fancy gadgets, jewelry, or lavish parties. Get your graduate a gift that will provide numerous benefits. A graduate account at Friendly Federal Credit Union. This is Cindy Haladio. Graduate accounts at Friendly Federal include free checks, a $500 credit limit Visa card with approved credit, online access, great personal service, and a debit card tied to the account. Here's the great news. I've got applications for you and your graduate. Your student has until the end of this month to apply for the annual Anthony S. Payne and Carl D. Ross Memorial Scholarships. While they're doing that, you can apply for a low 2.75% home equity loan. Available now with approved credit. Visit Friendly Federal Credit Union for more information or click friendlyfcu.org. It's the place that makes more sense for you. Equal Housing Lender, member NCUA.
Where the listeners of Beaver County have a voice. Teleforum with Eddie Crow, 724-843-1888, 724-774-1888.
Right, we're back again, and you know, we're doing our thing, and I'm just looking at my papers here. I had mentioned NESARA, JESARA, and if I don't have it here at the minute, we'll take a break and I'll find it. But you know, we're talking about rainbow currency. We're talking about the demise of the Federal Reserve and the Great Reset. Now, you know, some people refer to the reset as well. That is the World Economic Forum and Klaus Schwab and his predictions of taking over and having a one world government, and the United Nations would be the army of the world, and on and on and on. Now, this has been a discussion for a long, long time, and there are billionaires in the world that are part of this circle that meets in Davos. That's where the World Economic Forum meets, and it's hard to comprehend. So let me tell a story about history. In 1968, there was a group formed called the Club of Rome. Now, everything that I'm going to talk about for the next 15, 20 minutes. You can find it online. This is factual information. It is really there. And only when I, in my life and my career, started to look at things from the 30,000-foot view. It's like earlier I mentioned Mike Lindell and his cyber symposiums and what I saw there. So you have to start connecting the dots, folks. You ever play the game? You got a page full of little dots, and you make a line, and then I make a line, and then you make a line, and I make a line, and then when we get 4 around a square, you get to put your initial in there. Ever play that game when you was a kid, Ryan? Yes. You know what I'm talking about? So this is a game, and hopefully I can connect some dots for you. But the Club of Rome was created as a think tank of supposedly the smartest people on the planet. It still exists today. It functions today. It is partially funded by George Soros. That should tell you a lot on what is going on. But in 1968, when they were formed, their mission statement was about saving the world. And they wanted to look at the circumstances around the world, and they wanted to make a prediction of what may or may not happen. And their very first prediction in 1968 was that the world was going to run out of crude oil by 1993. And there was actually a book written by a guy named Rees-Mogg and another economist from Europe. And it was, the title of the book was The Great Reckoning of 1993. And it was a book about what would happen to the world if, in fact, we had run out of oil. We're all sitting here in 2024, and we know we didn't run out of oil. In fact, they're telling us that there's oil and reserves that would last hundreds of years into the future. So we're not going to run out of oil anytime soon. But that was their prediction. Now, just to give you a handle, do you remember the guy named Stephen Hawkins? He was from Europe, and he was a paraplegic and lived in a wheelchair, and he spoke electronically. He didn't even have the ability to speak, so he spoke electronically and did that. And it was believed at one time he was the smartest man on the planet. He was a nuclear physicist was his education handle, and he was part of this group. Well, in 1969, there was a world oil broker in South America named Perez. And again, some of this is story, but the facts are real. And as a world oil broker, he knew some gentlemen in Texas that were part of the Texas Railroad Commission. Now, the Texas Railroad Commission, it's real. You can look it up. They manage the production of oil and gas in America. They're sort of America's version of OPEC, if you think about it. Well, this Perez guy went to the Arabs and said, hey, you ought to know what these Texas Railroad Commission guys do, because it was believed in 1968 that 85% of the supply of crude oil, where was it, Ryan? Do you remember? Saudi Arabia. Under the sands of Saudi Arabia was 70 to 80% of all the crude oil in the world. That was the belief at that time. Because this crude oil in Saudi Arabia bubbles up through the sand in their deserts. So that was the prediction. But Perez told him, you got all this crude oil, and these Texas Railroad guys, they control all that and monitor it all. If you did that, imagine how much money you could make. Well, in 1969, doggone it, OPEC was formed. They formed the organization of OPEC. And in that, oil by the barrel, a barrel of crude oil in 1969 was $1.23 a barrel. In 1967, when I graduated high school, I pumped gas at the Keystone gas station in Ambridge on 8th Street and Duss Avenue. And I don't know, maybe somebody out there remembers that, but on 8th Street and Duss Avenue in Ambridge was the Keystone gas station, and I worked there part-time pumping gas. And you know what gas was a gallon, Ryan? 27.9. A bunch of my buddies, we'd get together on a Saturday night, and everybody'd throw in a couple bucks, and we could fill the gas tank for $4, $5, $6 and be able to run around all night in the car. So that was the reality of 1969. Well, 3 years later, crude oil, $12 a barrel. Isn't that interesting? 1,000% increase in 3 years. Now, there was a movie that was made in the 70s, somewhere along there, and the movies were Rollover was the name of the movie by Christopherson. And I know it's news time. We got less than a minute to go, and I'm going to leave you hanging because I want you to come back. I want you to come back and hear the rest of this story because I'm gonna roll your socks down and drop your pants. This is real stuff. So we're going to take a break and go to the news, and I will be back in a few minutes.
Beaver County Radio's news source, 95.7 and 99.3 FM, along with 1230 WBVP, 1460 WMBA, and streaming at beavercountyradio.com. Here's Curtis Walsh.
Good morning on this Monday, June the 10th of 2024. We can expect cloudy skies today, only reaching a high of about 65 degrees. We'll have a complete Beaver County radio weather forecast after we take this look at news. Center Township Police report that 68-year-old Reverend Myra Knox of 133 Radcliffe Drive in Center Township was arrested Friday morning when police performed a raid at the residence. Police were assisted by the DA's Anti-Drug Task Force and the county's ESU when they used flashbangs to enter the home. Knox was charged with several felony and misdemeanor narcotic and firearm charges. Center Township Police Chief Aldo Ledge reported this morning that trends in narcotic sales have changed, which include traffickers and dealers camouflaging within smaller, quiet communities to draw less attention to their nefarious and dangerous activities. The chief said the police department is dedicated to providing and maintaining a safe environment for the community and its residents. Knox was taken to the county jail after being arraigned and has since been released. He faces a hearing on all charges in relation to his arrest on Monday, June 17th at 8:45 a.m. in Beaver County Central Court. Beginning at approximately noon tomorrow, the Rochester-Monaca Bridge will be closing to vehicular traffic continuously through Tuesday, August 20th. The bridge will be undergoing various construction work. Emergency crews responded to a home in Freedom Saturday afternoon. A fire broke out on a porch of a residence on 4th Avenue. No injuries were reported, and the fire was extinguished before making it to the rest of the house. A man and his dog escaped a crash with injuries Saturday evening in New Brighton. The crash took place near a small mobile home court on Blockhouse Run Road. Witnesses say the driver struck a bridge and a tree before being ejected from the vehicle as it plunged into the creek. Numerous emergency crews responded to the scene. We do not have word on the condition of the driver at this time or the dog, and we are currently working on gathering more details. State police report that they responded to a report of a man's vehicle being damaged on June 2nd. A man and a woman reportedly entered into a verbal argument at Kelly's Riverside Saloon in Bridgewater after the man was seen at the bar with another woman. The woman proceeded to use a baseball bat to smash the rear lights out of the man's vehicle. A charge of criminal mischief under $1,000 was filed. PennDOT has announced that lane restrictions on Route 68 3rd Street in Beaver started today. Lane restrictions will occur on Route 68 at the East End Avenue intersection weekdays from 8 a.m. until 5 p.m. through mid-July. Crews from Team Fishel will conduct gas line work for Columbia Gas. And Kansas City Chiefs quarterback Patrick Mahomes' dog is named after the Pittsburgh Steelers. KDKA-TV reports that Brittany Mahomes, the wife of the star quarterback, said in an interview recently with People magazine that one of their two dogs is named after the Steelers, and the reason is that she used to be a fan. She says she got Steel while attending the University of Texas. The dog was a Valentine's Day gift from Patrick Mahomes when she was a junior. The Steelers will face Mahomes and the Chiefs on Christmas Day with a kickoff set for 1 p.m.
Here's the Beaver County forecast.
Calm and cool this morning. We'll see increasing clouds as the day goes on. It's not going to get much warmer either. Look for a high near 65. Mostly cloudy tonight. We'll drop down to a low around 46. Lots of sunshine tomorrow. We'll reach a high near 72. A beautiful day expected on Wednesday with lots of sunshine and a high near 80. And sunshine and warmer temps in the forecast for Thursday. A high near 87 is expected. I'm Lisa Marie with your Beaver County weather.
On this Monday, June the 10th of 2024, at 35 minutes past 11, we've got a temperature of 64 degrees with cloudy skies in Beaver County. That's a look at the news for now. I'm Curtis Walsh on 99.3 FM and AM 1230 WBVP, also streaming live around the world at beavercountyradio.com. It's hard to even put a title on what Tom Young at First Consultants in Beaver does. Calling him a financial planner or an insurance salesman or even a life coach still doesn't accurately describe the experience. That's because he brings dreams back to life or puts life back into retirement.
My job is to create in you the vision of the you that I think you can be, the place that I think you can get to. And you know what? I get frustrated because I see more greatness in people than they see in themselves. I see greater financial futures than they see in themselves. Most people don't believe they can get there.
Find out more by visiting firstconsultantsinc.com or engage in Tom Young's live simulcast presentation on the third Tuesday of each month beginning at 9:10 a.m. on Beaver County Radio and Facebook Live. All advisory services are offered through PL Wealth LLC. PL Wealth is a federally registered investment advisor. PL Wealth is in no way affiliated with First Consultants Inc., nor is First Consultants Inc. a registered investment advisor.
The warm weather is back, and that can only mean one thing. Pirates baseball for a 76th season is on Beaver County Radio. Make sure you set your radio dial to WBVP and 99.3 FM. Pirate baseball is being presented locally by the St. Barnabas Health System, Freedom United Federal Credit Union, Falcone's Moon Township Ford, Keystone Wellness Program, Friendly Federal Credit Union, Dr. C. Timothy Lip, the Beaver Falls Municipal Authority, Patriot Home Care, Town Square Restaurant, and Beaver County Radio.
Where the listeners of Beaver County have a voice. Teleforum with Eddie Crow, 724-843-1888, 724-774-1888.
Hey, it's not Eddie Crow, it's Tom Young. Eddie will be back on Thursday this week, I presume. And then I will be back in a couple weeks. I think it's next Tuesday is my monthly radio show, which is the third Tuesday of every month at 9:10 a.m. to 10 o'clock. And so let's get back to our story. Remember we were talking about the Club of Rome. The Club of Rome predicted the world was going to run out of crude oil by 1993. In 1969, OPEC was formed, and at that time it was believed that 70-80% of all the crude oil in the world was under the sands of Saudi Arabia. So through their knowledge and coaching by some world oil broker somewhere, they formed OPEC. Oil was $1.23 a barrel in 1969, and 3 years later, in 1972, it was $12 a barrel. Now, that started to create a dilemma. Now, I remember in the early 70s, I think it was 1973, 1974, on 11 o'clock news at night would be the lines at the gas station, and you're not old enough to remember that, Ryan, but they would be cars lined up because we were on the verge of rationing. In other words, you could only get so much gasoline.
Now, I've heard about these times, Tom. Now, was this where it went by your license plate number, if it was like evens or odds?
You got it.
I've heard this. I wasn't around back then, but I certainly heard this.
And then you had, like we have today, the what do they call it, road rage? Well, it was line rage, and people would cut in the line at the gas station because there were many times by the time you're in line, you got to the gas station, they were out of gas.
Wow.
That was what was going on in 73 and 74. So Richard Nixon in 1972, and there's a lot of reasoning that I've heard different on why this occurred, but there was a movie, and the title of the movie was called Rollover. And it was in the 70s, And Chris Christopherson was in this movie, and he was a world banker in New York. And Jane Fonda, whatever, but she was in this movie. And the gist of the movie was about this jumbo CD, because we were importing so much oil into the United States, and the Arabs had put the money into a CD in a bank in New York. And the whole gist of the movie was what was going to happen if the Arabs didn't renew the CD. In other words, if they said, I want my money. And because our money said payable to the bearer, gold or silver, they believed that they would have been able to clean out all the gold in Fort Knox in America. So that was the gist of that movie. But it was interesting that I look back on my 30,000-foot view, and I remember that movie as I learned all of this stuff about what was going on. Nixon was forced to take us off the gold standard, and if you look at your dollar bill, it says federal note. It's fiat currency. There's nothing backing it but the government's ability to tax us. Now, what does that mean? Now, when a person is born, how long does it allow before you have to get a Social Security number today? I remember years ago, it wasn't a big thing, but I had a client, just had a baby a couple weeks ago, and within 7 days, that brand new baby had a Social Security number. So he was registered. If you want to look at it from that, the deep state dark side, he's now a registered human being in the U.S. that eventually will grow up and get a job and get paid and get what? Taxed. So we are the collateral for the federal government. Now, I believe that we have reached a point where the collateral is no longer worth what the leverage is when you look at $35 trillion of debt. I saw a number on the new website. It says all of the assets in America, everything that you and I hold, all the assets, the value was like $176 trillion. I mean, that's everybody, everything, okay? And the unfunded liability before they took it off the screen was $215 trillion not too long ago. Now, let's go back to our timeline story. And now Nixon takes us off of the gold standard, and that opens what I refer to, my opinion, the Pandora box. And we all know the stories of the Pandora box in what's going on. So Pandora's box was opening and to allow full fractional banking. Now, what is fractional banking? You and I put money in the bank. The bank makes money by loaning that money out to other people. You understand that, Ryan? So they loan the money out to other people. Now, when you borrow money at the bank, pretty much all the loans you have to have collateral, right? You have to put up some kind of collateral to get a loan. Your house, your car, or land, or whatever you're borrowing money, you have to put up collateral. Well, inside the Federal Reserve system, they take that asset that you put up for collateral and they go to the Federal Reserve window, and the bank leverages that asset through the Federal Reserve. And they can borrow anywhere from 90 to 95% of that value back from the Federal Reserve window. Now, 2 years ago, they were only paying 0.25% interest at the Federal Reserve. Now, it's not the 5.5 that the Federal Reserve has raised the rate to, but they're paying probably a couple of percent interest on that. And that reserve, that if they can borrow 95%, that means they kept 5. If they can borrow 90, that means they kept 10. Well, think of 1929, what we know about 1929, and the collapse there is how much did you get when you went to the bank? Remember the movie It's a Wonderful Life? With Jimmy Stewart. I love that movie. I cry when I watch that movie. But it was 10 cents on the dollar is really what you got. So if everybody went into their bank today and said, I want all my money, you would only get maybe 8 or 10 cents on the dollar. That's all that's there. That's why they have FDIC insurance, because they have loaned it out. Now, this process of going to the Federal Reserve window and they turn that asset into more money, loan out position 2, collateral, Federal Reserve window, loan out position 3, collateral, go to the Federal Reserve window, and now we got position 4. On average, they turn it 7 times. That's the average. So that's fractional banking. And that's why we're in a mess we're in right now, because there was no control. And the banks and the Federal Reserve in their infinite stupidity, I don't call it infinite wisdom, I call it infinite stupidity, just like the Club of Rome. And one of the other predictions that the Club of Rome have made is climate change. Now, isn't that interesting? Now, we'll talk about that. We got to take a break here, and we're going to take a break, and we're going to come back and wrap up for today. But you want to make sure you come back tomorrow, because I'm going to talk about unique approach to the financial world tomorrow and how to turn an average, everyday person's money into real wealth. We'll be back after the break.
Pizza Joe's offers Western Pennsylvania and Eastern Ohio some of the best variety in pizza, subs, strombolis, and more. Stop by your local Pizza Joe's in Beaver, Beaver Falls, Elwood City, or Cranberry Township and get a 9-cut cheese pizza and a 9-cut veggie pizza for just $20. You can't beat that. Visit pizzajoes.com for additional savings and to sign up for Pizza Joe's Points Loyalty Program. Specials are before tax and delivery. Offers and loyalty are available at participating locations. Everyone goes to Pizza Joe's.
Lincoln Park Performing Arts Center in Midland presents Titanic the Musical, our majestic and beautiful season finale, presented by Clearview Federal Credit Union, June 21st through the 30th. Get tickets now at lincolnparkarts.org.
In Beaver County, there are many great stories to tell. One such worthy story is that of the Drug-Free Aliquippa program. Now in its 4th year, the project has enjoyed great success through in-school interaction, education, raising awareness, and data analysis. Drug-Free Aliquippa has a mission to help local youth make better decisions regarding alcohol and drug use. For more information or to find out how you can get involved, visit Drug-Free Aliquippa on Facebook.
Talk about what's happening in Beaver County or around the world on Teleforum. 724-843-1888. 724-774-1888. It's Teleforum with
we're
Eddie
back,
Crow.
And let's round it up today. It's been a great day. Unbelievable. I hope you enjoyed the information. I hope you enjoyed my guest. I have a tentative guest for tomorrow and about PEM Life. Now, you'll really want to know about that tomorrow, because that is the real education that you need, the real education you need to circumvent all of this misinformation that you're being fed. Now, we were talking, before we went to the break, we were talking about fractional banking. Fractional banking, the Federal Reserve in 1972, 1973, on their balance sheet, they only had a couple of hundred $100 billion. Now, in that category, that's not a lot of money for them, but it was a couple of $100 billion on their balance sheet, which was money that they had printed and blah, blah, blah. Well, do you know what their balance sheet is today? Their balance sheet was close to $9 trillion. They've dissolved some of it, but they're still at $7 trillion. And where did that come from? If we look in 1999, Bill Clinton made a statement about banking, and this was, all the stuff that was going on. 87, the savings and loans collapsed and went bankrupt. The FDIC was going to go bankrupt in 1991. That was when Greenspan was brought onto the scene, and he lowered the interest rates in the banks. So if you went into the bank in 1990, okay, and he said, I want to borrow some money, and they said, well, we're going to charge you 15%. And you say, no, I want to put money in savings. So they say, okay, well, we'll give you 6% in savings. Or I'm sorry, 9%. Give you 9% in savings. So that's a 6% spread. So they get your money and they pay you 9% to use your money. They loan it out at 15. So that's 6% gross profit for the bank. 6 over 9 is 66 2/3% gross profit for the bank. Greenspan's job was to save the FDIC, because the savings and loans went down in 87 because of commercial loans going bad, because of tax laws that were changed between negotiations between Ronald Reagan and the Democratic Party that was in charge of the government at that time. So they killed commercial loans, and that caused the savings and loans to go bust and go collapse. But the FDIC, the banks, were doing the same game as the savings and loans. And so the FDIC, there were 3 banks on the chopping block that were going to go under, and if that had been allowed to happen, it would have bankrupted the FDIC, and so we would have had this bigger catastrophe then, but it would be smaller than the catastrophe we're facing today. So Greenspan, you went into the bank, borrow money at 15, you get 9 on your CD. 18 months later, you go into the bank, and the bank says, oh, you're going to like us, we'll loan you money at 9. And you say, well, what are you going to pay me in savings? And the bank says, we'll pay you 3. Okay, well, that's still a 6% spread, but 6 over 3, isn't that 200%? So in 1993, and I have this newspaper, Wall Street Journal, headline, the most profitable year in the history of U.S. banking. Isn't that interesting? And that was how Greenspan saved the FDIC by manipulating currencies, manipulating interest rates, and on and on. And that opened the door. So the interest rates went really low, which opened the door for the boom of the 90s. And if you remember the 90s, it was like you couldn't lose in the stock market. I mean, people's 401ks got so big they thought they were rich. So they even decided, well, they quit working, they quit saving. Man, look at the stock market. And then 2000 came, and they called it the dot-com bust, because a lot of those computer companies, dot-coms they called them, they were reaching a point, instead of $8 to $10 a share PE ratio, they were 100 and 140 PE ratio. So what is the PE ratio? That's profit to earnings ratio on the dollar in a company. So an 8% PE ratio means the company is so rich asset-wise that it has more money than it's owed. In other words, if the company sold today, it would sell for more money than the stock was worth. As the PE ratio gets bigger and bigger, and Warren Buffett would talk about 12 as an average good PE ratio. Companies that got PE ratios of 40 and 50 and 100 and 140, that meant they had to make the profit they were making this year for the next 25 years and never miss a beat to make it. So understanding PE ratios when you're in the stock market and you're buying stock, and you probably already know that, but that's just a little bit of history. So during the 90s, all this stuff going on and the low interest rates and everything. So in 1999, Bill Clinton made a comment, and he says, look, he told the banks, you will loan money to people over there. Now, we've all heard, across the tracks, people that live on the other side of the tracks, and they're not known for making their payments on time. And so they're not good credit-worthy people. So Bill Clinton said, you will loan money to people over there, or we're going to call it discrimination, and we're going to come after you. The government's going to come after you. So the banks started loaning money to people that had no income, no assets. There was 1 million mortgages in the Virginia area to illegal immigrants. Now, the mortgages that were being made were not real creditworthy. And the banks knew this. So the banks made a decision that they would bundle the mortgages together and they would sell them to Wall Street. Okay? Wall Street would bundle them and they would sell them as an investment to Mr. and Mrs. Q Public and say, well, these are first mortgages. These are the best type of investment you can invest in. So these are good investments. In the beginning, they looked good until they started to fail, and then they didn't work anymore. And there's a company on Wall Street called AIG, okay, American International, and there it is. So they come up with an idea. They told the portfolio says, look, we're going to create an insurance policy on your portfolios. And they were called credit default swaps. Now think of the words I just said, credit default swap. And that's what it was. So if you have a mortgage in your portfolio, Mr. Wall Street, we're gonna buy that back from you and give you some money for it, and we will take that. Well, their plan was to rebundle them as a more risky type of investment, et cetera. And so What happened was there were so many defaults that AIG was ready to go belly up. Now, where did these things come from? These are called derivatives in the marketplace. And at the time this was done, there was maybe $176 trillion in these derivatives. And again, they're nothing more than a hedge a bet. They're a hedge is what it is. It's a bet is what it is. That's made by these Wall Street bankers that take risk, and that's how they make money. Well, all of a sudden, the default was so big that the phrase, you remember the phrase, too big to fail? That was a phrase that came out, and AIG was the first company that the government bailed out at $85 billion of taxpayers' money to bail out AIG because a bunch of fat, cigar-smoking business guys on Wall Street made some bad decisions and lost their arse. And so we bailed them out. We bailed out General Motors and on and on and on. So you step back. Remember back, the 30,000-foot view is what I'm talking about here, is when you step back and look at this stuff, why is this stuff happening? Because politicians and people that are in that marketplace, they're greedy. And the politicians, now how does Nancy Pelosi become a congresswoman and all the years she was there at making $100 and some thousand a year and ended up being worth $150 million? Seriously, I want an answer. I want to see her in a congressional committee answer that question. How did you become worth $150 million in your 30-some years as a congresswoman in the government? And she's not the only one. I mean, all of them down there that have been there a long time, they're multi-millionaires. Al Gore was broke when he left the vice presidency, and he's now worth billions of dollars because he ran on the Lemmings game. Now, the Lemmings game, and I'm going to close with that today because we're down to a couple minutes, and this climate change stuff going on. Now, granted, climate changes. It always has. I remember in the 70s, remember, I'm not a little kid. I'm a 74-year-old kid. And I remember in the 70s where they were laying it down. We're going into a new ice age. This is going to be worth blah, blah, blah. Well, think about it right now. They're talking about the ocean rising 10 feet. But do you think the banks are smart? I mean, why are they still loaning $1 million mortgages on homes that are on the beach if the oceans are rising and within 10 years, everything's going to be underwater? I call that horse pucky. And it's nothing more. The little lemmings, little George Lemming. Lemmings are little rodent things, and they have no leadership, okay? We would, like a grinny, chipmunk. They're called lemmings. And little George Lemming got up. He lived on the west side of Lemmingville. On the east side of Lemmingville was a cliff to the ocean, 400 feet down in the rocks, and he decided that morning that today was the last day. He was going to end his life. So he got out of the house, and he ran as fast as he could. He approached town, and he started running through town as fast as he could go. And all the other residents in the town, where's George going? Where's George Lemming going? And they all followed out behind him, and guess what? They followed him off the cliff. Well, that's what I refer to as the billionaire lemming effect. The billionaires control, 6 billionaires in the world control 90% of the news media, folks. So do you think they have a way to get you to think a certain way, to change your perceptions, to change your perspective on how things are or could be or should be? That's my opinion. That is my 30,000-foot view, is the billionaire lemming effect. And let me talk a little bit about tomorrow. We've been negative today. I have one more big negative thing to talk about, and we'll talk about it tomorrow. I mentioned it earlier. Treason of the intellectuals and danger from within. The enemies from within are more dangerous to me than the enemies from outside. Republican presidential candidate and former president Donald Trump said in a rally in Wildwood, New Jersey on May 11th. At Springfield, Illinois' event some 20 years before the American Civil War, Abraham Lincoln delivered a prophetic message to his fellow citizens. At what point, then, is the approach of danger to be expected? I answer, if you even reach us, it must be spring up among us. Are we sitting here today watching the tens of thousands come across our border from all over the world? Are they terrorists in disguise? I'm sure some of them are. And I hate to say that, and I am terrified in some ways that the end is coming. God bless you all. Come back and listen to me tomorrow. I'm going to have some answers to all of these problems.
You're listening to 99.3 FM, presented by St. Barnabas, in addition to 1230 WBVP Beaver Falls.